And here is the Writer's Almanac for Saturday, January the 4th, 2020. It's the birthday of Doris Kearns Goodwin, born in Brooklyn, 1943, author of many highly acclaimed biographies, including the Fitzgeralds and the Kennedys, Lyndon Johnson and the American Dream, and Team of Rivals, the political genius of Abraham Lincoln. Doris Kearns Goodwin, who when she was just 20 got an internship at the State Department, a couple years later, one in Congress. By the age of 24, she was working at the White House. She was writing on the side. She wrote an article for the New Republic, a scathing attack on President Johnson and his Vietnam War policy called How to Remove LBJ in 1968. And then she met the president at a White House ball. He knew about the article, but he asked her to dance with him, and by the end of the evening he asked her to come to work for him as a personal assistant. She helped Johnson write his memoirs after the White House, and 3 years after he died, she published Lyndon Johnson and the American Dream. It was a big bestseller, after which she wrote about the Kennedys, and then about the Roosevelts, writing about the marriage of Franklin and Eleanor Roosevelt. She was going to write a similar book about Abraham Lincoln and his wife, Mary Todd Lincoln, but when she started doing research for the book, she found that during the Civil War, Lincoln spent more time with his colleagues in the cabinet than with his wife, Mary. So she decided to write a book about Lincoln and those men. She was interested in the men he had appointed who before the election had been his political opponents and campaigned against him, particularly William Seward, who became Secretary of State, and Salmon P. Chase, who became Secretary of the Treasury. That book came out in 2005, Team of Rivals. And during the 2008 presidential campaign, candidate Barack Obama mentioned Goodwin's book in interviews, saying it was essential reading. And after he won the Democratic nomination, he named his former opponent Joe Biden as his running mate. And after he was elected, he appointed a handful of former rivals to his cabinet. In her book on Lincoln, Doris Kearns Goodwin described his gait, his way of walking, plodding forward with no spring in his step. His features overspread with sadness and melancholy. His legs seemed to drag from the knees down, like those of a laborer going home after a hard day's work. Here's a poem for today by Edward Hirsch, To the Subway. Underground horse, I board you at Grand Central and ride your steely body away from the city with the other riders, the collared and uncollared. I prefer you expressly at off hours, but I hang from your bars at peak times and sway to your snorting music. I lean into your turns in dank tunnels and hurtle with you through the darkness for long stretches between fitful stops. I'm not pretending I never curse you for rearing up between stations, breaking down on Thursdays, or resting in your stable, and yet you carry me faithfully to Atlantic, where I step across the gap into firm shore and climb your stairs into the bright air. To the Subway, a poem by Edward Hirsch from The Living Fire, New and Selected Poems, published by Alfred A. Knopf and used by permission here on The Writer's Almanac. Be well, do good work, and keep in touch.